So Kim is a speech pathologist by background. She's worked in the rehabilitation of complex neurological communication and swallowing impairments since graduating in 2007. She's drawn on extensive clinical experience from acute hospitals, rehabilitation and aged care settings, and is armed with a master's degree specialising in stroke rehabilitation. Kim provides person-centred interventions. Her area of expertise are communication and swallowing, impairment related to brain-acquired injury, progressive neurological conditions, and functional neurological conditions. She is also experienced in providing gender-affirming voice therapy. When not at work, Kim likes hiking, trail running, cooking, spending time with her family, gardening, travel, and going to watch Test cricket. Well, and the lovely Julia's not still with us, because I tell you what, you'd be her favourite human being, I'm telling you right now. Unfortunately, she passed away, but her absolute passion was Test cricket, and she knew them all, can I say to you? She knew them all, which was great. That was tremendous. Okay, so Kim's going to talk to us today, and I'm not even sure what the topic is, love, so I do apologise on that. So I'll get you to introduce the topic for yourself, if you don't mind.
Thank you so much for welcoming me to come and speak with you all today. I was going to talk about the role of virtual reality in stroke intervention. Well, in Australia, it's an emerging kind of tool that we use as part of our rehabilitation, but it's pretty widely used in America and Europe as well. I know we don't want to base everything on America, but it's used in Europe quite a bit as well and other countries. So we're catching up a little bit. So it's a really interesting field, and we use it at Engage VR. So I'll just share my screen. If anyone has any comments or questions as we're talking, please feel free to stop me. Okay. You can see my screen? Lovely. Yep. So let me just make sure I can change that. Oh, what's going on there? There we go. Okay, so hopefully I can change my screen. Oh, what's going on? VR speech is having some technical issues. There we go. So this is this isn't our team. This is the majority of our team. We've just gotten a little bit bigger. The company I work for, the business I work for, is called Engage VR. We're a multidisciplinary team based in Newcastle, but we, Alan and Judy, we are doing some work with for the Primary Health Network, with the Primary Health Network grant out in Tamworth at the moment. So you might have come across Craig Hewitt, our managing director, or some of our other team out there. We're working, partnering with Rural Fit as well to work out and provide services as well. So we've got occupational therapists, physiotherapists, speech pathologists, and exercise physiologists. This is our clinic in Newcastle, our rehab clinic, where we specialise in acquired brain injury rehab. And you can see hanging on there all our screens. They're our screens where we cast up the what people are seeing on their VR, their virtual reality. So we'll talk a little bit about what virtual reality is and how it's used in stroke rehabilitation. So what is virtual reality? I don't know if any of you have used VR before, but it's pretty much a computer creates a simulated environment or a new environment, and you see it all through your goggles that you pop on. And even though when we'll look at some videos later, and when you're just watching the videos, the environment doesn't look real, like really real. That's because it gets a bit creepy if it looks really real. But even though it doesn't look really real, your brain still perceives it as being real. So you react to the environment how you'd react if you were actually standing, I don't know, on the moon or on a tennis court or riding a bike. So you use either the handheld controllers that you can see lovely Gus there is holding one of them, or you can set it up so that you just use your hands and it tracks your hands and you can interact with the environment just using your hands, which is really cool. There you might have heard of augmented reality and virtual reality there. Virtual reality is where the whole environment, you're in the environment, where augmented reality combines real world and computer generated images. So there's this really fun experience that we have where you put your headset on, you look like you're standing in your room, and then these little cute little aliens kind of nibble through the walls, and then eventually your walls disappear and you're standing on a planet somewhere. It's very cool, and it like actually feels like the cute little fluffy aliens are coming for you. For ease, though, I'm just going to say virtual reality. There's like a catch-all while we're talking. So this is an example. So he's bike riding around Paris. So for our lovely client here, it looks like he's bike riding around. So if he looks up, he sees the sky. He looks down, he sees the ground, just like if he was riding his bike, riding beside the river. Yeah, so that's what it actually looks like. So why use VR? Because we know there's some great stroke interventions. Oh, I didn't know I'd set that little so twirl up. We know for stroke there's great interventions that work really well already, but one of the big barriers for rehabilitation into any intervention, anything really, is engagement. And use of virtual reality, or like we know just from doing it, but also there's lots of research that says that using virtual reality as a tool in your rehab is motivating and engaging and interesting. So you get more repetitions because you want to get in and do it. And so that's one of the main things for the person living with stroke. There's also good evidence that it can help with cognitive changes related to stroke, upper limb and fine motor retraining, cardiovascular health and general health, mobility and balance, and communication skills as well. And these are all when they're programs that are done with a therapist, done with an expert too. So just going out and buying a VR headset and jumping on and doing some games isn't going to get the improvements. There still needs to be a clinician supported. It's a therapy tool. Why would a therapist use it? Again, like I said, the adherence to the therapy program, so you know that you're likely to get the increased dosage of your therapy programs, your exercise programs. There's evidence that it enhances neuroplasticity. We'll talk about all these a little bit more in depth later. It's safe. So, there's some people who can't use it and won't use it. They hate it. But I haven't actually come across anyone really that doesn't like it to some degree. And it's safe because you can simulate environments. So you can put you on a bike in a gym and send you around Paris, or send you up a mountain and down the side of a mountain in the gym. So to your body and your brain, you're outside getting all the benefits of exercising and you're working on balance and that kind of stuff. but you're in the gym and there's someone standing beside you if your balance does go off, or if you're so exhausted your legs can't keep turning over, or if anything happens. It's cost effective, particularly when you look at the cost of the tool and the amount of repetitions and dosage you get. It's a really good tool, self-directed therapy tool. So you see the clinician once a week and then go off and do it every day because it's fun and interesting. And it's accessible. And it doesn't, people will often say, like, I'm 80. I can type and that's about it. I use Facebook to call my kids, but that's kind of it. They're pretty simple tools to use once you've been like shown how to use it and how to set it up. And like I was saying, Alan and Judy, we're out in Tamworth at the moment working with people using virtual reality as a therapy tool via telehealth. So they're in Tamworth and they've got their headsets and their controllers, and our therapists are in Newcastle, and our therapists can have set up programs for them in their headsets, and each day you can go in and you can access it and you can contact your therapist and say, that exercise is too easy, that exercise is too hard, and the therapist can modify it for you. I'm doing like a reaching one and now that's too far away, I can't quite get it, or it's too easy now, I need to come quicker, and the therapist can modify that. And it's really, we're just looking and we can track how much time people are spending in their headsets. The people who have never used virtual reality before are in there, 20 minutes every day doing their exercises. So it is actually quite accessible if you've been set up and shown how to use it. So what does virtual reality do to the brain? There's evidence that the affected sites perceived as moving, the affected primary motor region, the brain's activated. So you can get increased activity in the affected motor regions of the brain and the sensory motor regions of the brain too. Using, I don't know if any of you have ever done mirror therapy or seen mirror therapy. Similar kind of neurons are being activated there doing virtual reality. There's evidence for increased cortical connectivity. So the level of communication or the signal between different regions of the brain can be strengthened, which shows that there's a higher degree of neural activity and interaction between these areas. So which can potentially lead to improved cognitive function or improved motor function as well. Increased activity in the frontal cortex has been found, which is the area for reasoning, problem solving, tension, mood and impulse control, and improved interhemispheric balance. I knew that one was going to be hard to say. So one side of your brain kind of works, the brain works together, both hemispheres of the brain work together, and each of them has kind of slightly different jobs to do. But a stroke can damage one side of the brain, resulting in one side being more dominant than the other. So if you've got improved balance between the two sides, you've got a more efficient and effective brain, to put it kind of simply. So just before you start having a look at how you actually use VR and get away from me talking so much, you actually see some videos of how it works. So this was a systematic review of 27 studies. So as I said earlier, that virtual reality is kind of a emerging tool. It still has quite a body of evidence behind it already. Like I said, this was a study that lots of that neuroplasticity evidence came from. So there's improved anti-hemispheric balance, like I said, cortical connectivity, cortical mapping of the affected limb muscles, and that all results in improved functional outcomes pretty much. These two studies, again, more systematic reviews, was less of like a focus on what's happening in the brain and the functional outcomes. So they found that using virtual reality as a rehabilitation tool resulted in upper and lower arm movement improvements, improvements in walking gait, speed and safety of walking. So just improved functional walking, improved balance, and increased independence with people that use virtual reality as part of their stroke rehabilitation programs. And being a speechy, I couldn't have a little bit of language in there. So it is very much early days in the research of language therapy in virtual reality. But there's enough studies out there to do a systematic review. And there is evidence that using virtual reality can improve language skills. So at both impairment levels, so if you're just kind of testing naming or doing seeing how people turn out on how people go on assessments versus functional real life improvements. So that's really good. Improved naming skills, but most I think probably relevant is that you get more. Well, probably not relevant. That's not the word I'm looking for. Probably the reasoning behind the improvements is that you get the increased dosage and increased motivation. More like functional, real life kind of improvements we're seeing when you use the technology to engage with groups of people or real people virtually. So either other people with aphasia or with clinicians. And that I'll show you later a program that you can use to do that. But talk about that in a bit. So how it's actually used rather than just all the research behind it. Can I get that video? So it's being used in education and training. So Hunter New England Health have used it to have done a study where they got 5 rural hospitals and they rolled out a statewide telestroke. Oh, sorry, it wasn't just Hunter New England. Hunter New England was involved. Sorry. Statewide telestroke network, that's called. And they used virtual reality training for the staff working in those telehealth networks. So they went to 5 rural hospitals. They used virtual reality for the workflow training, as well as some other things. It wasn't just the virtual reality. They used some other things too, and they found that they had improved door-to-door time, significantly improved, like 30 minutes improvement in door-to thrombolysis. And I've lost the rest of my outcomes there. They also had improvements in time to treat, so not just the thrombolysis, but time to be seen, if that person couldn't be thrombolyzed, time to have their scans done. So it's pretty much just an improvement in the efficiency. And the reason for that is because it's an immersive environment, you can practice dangerous procedures or non-dangerous or risky procedures in relative safety, or in absolute safety, because there might be a mannequin on the bed in front of you, but you can use it in education. The mannequin looks like a real person, so they can practice putting needles in without actually having to practice on you, which is nice. They can practice the crash procedures and the even the scanning procedures and all the blood tests they have to send to make sure they're getting all those right, and the conversations that they have to have, so they can use it from like a technical medical perspective, but it can also be used to train soft skills. So interpersonal relationships, you can practice having conversations, because you all know that having a stroke and being in hospital either with a stroke or with a person, a loved one who's had a stroke, is probably one of the most vulnerable times in your life and scary times in your life. And that takes, for the medical staff, the teams working with people who've had strokes or families, it takes skill to, ask the hard or important questions and do it in a empathetic way, but that they're still trying to achieve a goal. They're still trying to figure out all the information so that they can help medically. So it's a really good way of training those soft medical skills too. So this is an example. This is the New South Wales telestroke training. Can you hear that?
How can I help you? Thank you for confirming that the necessary images are being captured. While those images are generated and uploaded, we can work through the medical notes. Now let's look at the CT perfusion images. This image sequence shows the stroke core open up. The estimated size of each region is shown at the bottom of the image. Based on the images, this patient appears to be a candidate for both thrombolysis and clot retrieval treatment.
So that was just a little snippet.
Okay.
What did I say there? Yeah, so it's just a really interesting way. So for learning, there's very good evidence that because virtual reality is a simulated environment and it makes your brain believe that the events are actually happening, learning can be more effective, because there's kind of the abstract, lists of things in this situation, do this, and this. But then there's the actual doing it. So the people who say I learn best by doing, well, you can do it in virtual reality without having to have a real life person in front of you that you could get wrong with the first few times that you do it. So VR is very good, really good tool for learning, education and training. And it's used not just in healthcare, but very effective in healthcare. So in stroke in communication rehabilitation, so this is what I was going to talk to you about before. So this is a situation where you can put a person in, there's a heap of different environments. You can put them in a cafe, put them in a work environment, put them in a airport, talking to customs, and the clinician can modify what the person's saying. So the person with aphasia can be talking, and then the clinician can type what they want this guy, Rob or whatever his name is, to say back.
Hello, Sean. Nice to meet you. I'm Rob. How can I help you today? What would you like to talk about?
So there's background noise there, which for a person with aphasia can be really difficult. You can add that as like a tool to increase kind of the load on the person's system in a conversation. Yeah, it's really, really interesting. You can practice different behaviours so rather than just sitting with a therapist in a room practicing ordering your coffee and then going to a coffee shop, that's a very different situation. I've done it a lot. We do our drill training for, I want to skim cappuccino and a croissant. Yeah, that's a very different situation, being one-on-one with a clinician that you probably have a pretty good relationship with, and in a quiet therapy room. It's going to a cafe where you've got people lined up behind you. You've got the impatient, or not impatient, let's say busy cafe worker. So here you can practice these real situations. Here's another one. Oh, let's see how loud this is. Okay. So this is a voice therapy one. Oh, so you've got to change the pitch and the volume. Look around. So that one, I hope it doesn't play again right now. is it's a voice therapy experience that we've worked with the company to make. So you're in a hot air balloon and you're and if the therapist can modify it, so if they want you to get a certain volume or a certain pitch to get up over the mountain and collect those coins, they can modify that. So it's customizable for each individual person, and you get immediate feedback on your results, on your performance, which is really important for rehabilitation and learning. Using it for cardiovascular and strength rehabilitation. So here on the rower. Sorry if anyone gets seasick. I feel like someone should be there with a little spray bottle, making it even more real. Suggest that to him next time. Yeah, so, and if your goal, so I think earlier in the very first slide, you probably wouldn't remember, there was a picture of one of our therapists, Kylie, and a gentleman who standing on a surfboard on two Bosu balls, practicing balance. His goal was, and is, to get back to surfing. So I think one of, I could be making, no, I'm sure this is true. One of the people working in the telehealth program at the moment up in Tamworth, they really love to row. Rowing is something they're really interested in. And I think they want to get back to rowing. So here they kind of get the experience of rowing. It's not exactly the same. You're not out, you're not outside, and you're not in the cool air and with the splashing of the fish and stuff. But you're in as close as you can get without being there. Your brain thinks that you're out there. So you're getting kind of the emotional mood benefits of doing an activity that you love, while also getting the functional benefits of training or practicing, building up those skills to actually get out and do it safely, as opposed to just sitting on the rower. And I know you could just sit on the rower, but it's less effective because, one, it's not as motivating. I don't know if anyone gets on the rower, but it's really boring. Yeah, it's fun for like a couple of minutes, and then it's like treadmills on the trail runner. But you also get the brain tricked into thinking that it's outside and it's rowing in the creek or river. I don't know what that is. Here's another one. So we know how good, important bike riding is for fitness and for balance. So here he's lassoing a cowboy. The first time I ever used virtual reality, I was very pregnant, and my this was the one that my boss chose to trial me on. Works up a sweat.
So how does that work? Do you have to move something to get the cowboy or the horse?
Yeah. So he's just racing the cowboys there. Yeah, you got to like actually lasso them, I'm pretty sure. That's not one I use very often, to be honest, speeches. Yeah. Oh, no, I'm going to go. He's chasing him down. You can see it up in the top of his corner.
Yeah.
Maybe you just
It's
get
like he
close enough.
lassos it.
Yeah. You got to chase them down. Oh, you can see he's puffing. You work hard. And the thing, because you're distracted as well, you do end up working really hard. Like whenever I get in and I'm doing anything, getting chased by someone, I end up very sweaty at the end of it. You work hard without even knowing it. It's great. So I popped this one in because this is skiing, which I don't. So you wouldn't just pop someone in this and let them go. Oh, that's it talking. So an exercise like this is modified to suit an individual's safety needs. So if you've got, you're working on your balance, but you're advanced enough to be doing this kind of activity, you always have a physio there with you, or a safety belt on, like a walk belt on, or sitting, because you're not actually moving forward. You're in the one space. You're just kind of moving side to side with most of these activities, most of these tools. So yeah, I put that one into that. You do modify it to be safe. And another reason that you want to have a therapist-led guided program, because I have seen my husband fall into the couch doing that one. He got a bit too into it and went over a jump. This is an example of augmented reality. So you're seeing the office here, but you're grabbing the blocks, putting in place. So just like with any other rehabilitation program, working on fine motor skills and upper limb or motor skills at all, so you want to do repetitive, task-orientated exercises. But this one gives you immediate feedback too. Yeah. It's challenging and fun as well. We can also use it in cognitive rehabilitation. So there's evidence that it can help with memory, as well as especially visuospatial memory, attention, spatial awareness, problem-solving skills, decision-making and planning skills. So we talked before about the frontal lobe and connectivity in frontal lobe, improving using virtual reality as a therapy tool. That all comes from that. So here's a program or an exercise in problem solving. Also visual attention and visuospatial memory. So you've got a certain number of moves and you've got to put the puzzle back together or the statue back together. Beautiful. Here's an exercise in spatial awareness and scanning. So going from the smallest to the largest cog. Oh, there you go. Told you when you got it wrong. And return the function, return the love. Yeah. So again, I talked about task-orientated training already. That's very motivating and engaging, especially if you like tennis. So you get sensory feedback. So even though you're not physically hitting a ball, your brain reacts the same as if there is something you are hitting a target, hitting a ball. So the same sensory motor pathways are being engaged, the same, pretty much all the same pathways are being engaged as to when you're actually outside playing tennis. And you can change it so that you're actually moving around the space a little bit more. There you go, you move around a bit. So I think maybe, sorry, I've got a hair across my, I remember years ago, Michael Phelps talking about before he woke up every morning, he'd try and visualize, like specifically visualize his race. And there was they were doing some research into what was happening in his brain with him doing that. As long as he went through like every single step, and he's like got so good at it that it felt like he was actually doing it. And exactly the same thing that he was doing there is what virtual reality is doing, but it's much easier because you don't have to practice visualizing it over. You're actually in there doing it and practicing.
Would it be anything like the Wii that they used to do?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah, and lots of places still use Wii. We've got a Wii. No, we don't. Yeah, lots of places still use the Wii, and you have the balance board too. So it's because it's engaging, it's interesting, and it like I said, it engages the same parts of your brain. These activities engage the same part of your brain because the virtual reality is immersive. You're in it. And like I said, it doesn't look, when you just look at the pictures, it looks like a computer screen, but a computer generated image. But when you actually got the headset on and you're in there, you're reacting the same way as you would if you were actually there.